everybody, this is Stephanie Jadasek. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Let's talk about the character assassination and murder of Han Solo. It seems like through each of the new movies that are coming out, Star Wars movies, our favorite characters from the original trilogy are getting the shit kicked out of them. So let's talk about this. George Lucas, when he created Han Solo, Han went through many iterations, but the one thing that, in Lucas's mind, but one thing that he set up for was Han would be the space cowboy based on the American mythos of the gunfighter, the cowboy, the gambler, the Old West. Han is based on all of those mythical archetypes. Clint Eastwood's Man with No Name from all the spaghetti westerns. Steve McQueen's character in The Magnificent Seven, which is a great movie, by the way. John Wayne's characters in his westerns. So Han Solo, space cowboy, based on those legendary characters from the Old West and American myth. Now, where did Han Solo come from? Well, we have to go back to the EU, and there are a couple of different origin stories, but Han was likely an orphan in the city of Cornet City on the planet of Corellia. And there he worked in service to a crime lord boss named Gareth Shrike. He ends up at the Imperial Military Academy, an Imperial fighter pilot. That was where he always wanted to be. He wanted to be a pilot. He wanted to get out of where he was, and his dream was space travel, flying, being a pilot. And he got that. He did very well at the academy. He was a top student, so he was not stupid. Sorry, Disney. And he ended up a top pilot, TIE fighter pilot. Well, he's sent to investigate a crippled ship, comes across a bunch of young Wookiees that were rescued from going to the spice mines, and runs across a Wookiee that saved him, Chewbacca. He's told by his commanding officer to kill the Wookiee, skin the Wookiee, and bring the pelt back. He won't do it. Commanding officer starts beating the Wookiee with a neuronic whip. Han stuns his commanding officer with his blaster and ends up getting court-martialed and kicked out of the Imperial military with a black tick on his record, so he can't find a good job. And he can't find a good job after being court-martialed, but he gains a partner. Chewbacca feels like he owes him a life debt, and Chewbacca is very pivotal for Han. He becomes part of Han's conscience. He is the good voice on Han's shoulder. So how does Han win the Millennium Falcon? Here are his lucky dice. These are the dice that he used in that game of Curly and Spike where Lando put the Falcon up as a bet, and Han won the Falcon off of him. So when we meet Han, he has a Falcon, his Chewbacca as a partner, and he's the best smuggler in the galaxy, with one tick against his name, and that was he dumped a load of spice because he'd been boarded by the Imperials. When we meet him, he's on Mos Eisley waiting to get another job so he could pay Jabba. He runs into these two guys, Obi-Wan and Luke. They need passage to Alderaan, and Han tells him he'll take him, but it's going to cost him, and it does. So he ends up with them flying to Alderaan, only Alderaan's not there, and they get sucked up into the tractor beam, into the Death Star, where Han meets the most pivotal person in his life, Leia. They rescue the princess, and another attack of conscience, Han comes back after leaving the rebellion, helps Luke by blowing away a bunch of TIE fighters driving off Vader, and in the end, after the Death Star's blown up, Han becomes a hero, whether he wants to be or not. So let's talk about Leia as change agent. She's the other part of his conscience. She is the one that accused him of not caring about anything or anybody, not really knowing who he is, not really knowing what his backstory is. She becomes the central character in Han's life. She is the one that makes him stay with the rebellion the longest. Now, Han, when we get to The Empire Strikes Back, Han and Luke are already good friends, and Han risks his life to save Luke's. And Han and Leia's relationship goes from argumentative to being one of the most epic romances in movie history. It actually is beautiful, and by the time we get to Cloud City and they're betrayed by Lando, Han and Leia are basically deeply in love, and it's just tragic. Now, I'm going to go into this. What happened to Han while he was in Carbonite? Well, you can imagine this being a very traumatic experience. If you want realism, because, Pablo Hidalgo screams, we need realism. It's a fairy tale, but let's go to realism. What happened to Han in that state? Do you think there might be some PTSD? Maybe some issues afterwards? We're not told that because it's a fairy tale. But Leia shows up on Tatooine and rescues him, and she becomes the last face he sees and the first person he encounters after basically coming out of a state of death. He's rescued, and in the end, he finds a brother in Luke. Let's talk about Brotherhood. So let's talk about Brotherhood. Brotherhood is not just merely a friendship. It's a deep bond built on struggle, built on shared moments of trauma, terror. Battle buddies are more than just friends. They're brothers. And that's what Han and Luke have. They've shared so much that's been so scary, so life-altering, that they're not only good friends, they know they can depend on each other, and it's a relationship that Han has always needed. And he has that with Luke. Let's talk about Leia. With Leia, he found love and meaning. Someone who saw beyond the scruffy-looking nerf herder to see the good man below, underneath. Scoundrel, and he's a scoundrel no more. So what the hell happened? What the fuck, Disney? What the fuck, J.J. Abrams? So, when we meet Han in The Force Awakens, and we meet a broken man who's broken every bit as Luke is in The Last Jedi, but we really don't understand. All we know is that something bad happened with his son. His son went off the reservation, and basically is the impetus for breaking up his parents' marriage and sending Han reeling into abyss. Now, I'm going to tell you something about struggle. My parents survived the Great Depression and World War II. They were together for 51 years. They suffered through some tragedies in my family, brought on by choice by my older brothers and sisters. There are 9 of us. They suffered through me being sick and almost dying, and spending 3.5 months at Mayo Clinic fighting pneumonia and the ravages of anorexia. And no, they didn't break up, because the struggles that they went through during World War II and the Depression made them the adults that could handle the struggles for the rest of their lives. Now, let's transfer this to George Lucas' fairy tale. Han and Leia should have easily survived so many of the bad things that happened to them in the ensuing years after the Civil War was over, because of what they suffered through during the Civil War. The commitment that they made with each other wasn't just made out of shared love and attraction. It was made out of a bond that was forged in something that their shared reality, created. That they went through hell together to be together. The idea that, Ben Solo, this twat-waffle douchebag, could even be their son, in my opinion, is utter bullshit. I was so waiting for Han to go Buford T. Justice on him and ask him, just how the fuck did you spring from my loins, boy? But he doesn't. So we're left with this broken man whose whole character arc in the OT was been disgraced. He's a victim of character assassination. And this idiot, this punk, named J.J. Abrams, is the main culprit in the character assassination and murder of Han Solo, figuratively. Abrams likes to say he is Han's biggest fan. I am a huge fan of Han Solo. He is my favorite character in Star Wars. He is my favorite character in all of moviedom. If I had to face the reality that Harrison Ford did not want to be part of the rest of the trilogies, and that he wanted the character to end, I would have come up with a better way of closing that chapter than having his goofy-looking, jug-eared, pasty-faced, douchebag, dork son shove a lightsaber in his chest. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. You know, I'm looking at this thinking, is this how the makers of these films feel about their own fathers? And if so, we've just been assaulted with daddy hate porn. Daddy hate porn. Okay? Which, as someone who finds it disturbing in a way that I can't even describe, I don't get why they would do that. It's got to be the only reason. You know, I don't understand why, because when you watch The Last Jedi, you were told that, you know, Ren feels bad about what he did. He doesn't fucking feel bad. Rey asks him why and he just blows her off. You know, so yeah, daddy hate porn. Yeah, Pablo Hidalgo, daddy hate porn. It was just a way for you people to shit on George Lucas and what he did and the character he created. And, I don't know, the alpha male in general, which was Han, was that character. If Han was a strong alpha male role model in the original trilogy, and that's who he was portrayed to be as by Harrison Ford, you guys deliberately went out to destroy him. And that is unforgivable. That is character assassination. That is a murder in cold blood, literally and figuratively. And it is unforgivable. And as far as you thinking you're as good as George Lucas, you're not. Because I'm going to tell you something, J.J. Abrams, Pablo Hidalgo, no one will ever remember who you are. Ever. Because you have not changed the way people think. You have not done anything original. What you've done is thrown an agenda in our faces and slapped Star Wars on it, and that is a crime. And you will never mean as much to filmmaking, film lore, movie history as George Lucas is. Okay? Because you will never be George Lucas. You are not fit to walk on the same ground as George Lucas. So, I am angry. I am upset. The Last Jedi spun me off into a state of anger I have never thought I'd ever be in my life. But to take the opportunity that so many of my friends in Hollywood would have died to have to direct Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill in a Star Wars movie, to walk in the footsteps of giants, and to drop the ball like you did is a crime. You have assaulted all of us with your preaching, your nonsense, your poor characterization of the new characters, the fact that none of us give two shits about any of them, that I can't even describe how angry it makes me feel. You did not appreciate once what you were about to do. No appreciation whatsoever. And I will never forgive you. Yes, you victimized, you deconstructed, you assassinated the character of Han Solo, and you butchered him. For what reason? Your own self-glorification. And it was a big fuck you to Lucas and to the fans, even the fans who think they liked it, because you will never see Star Wars the way you should have, the way we did when it first came out. This is Steph, signing out. See you around the galaxy. Stay tuned for part 2, the character assassination and murder of Luke Skywalker.